So I would say that one of the number one things that regardless of where you're at in your career is always where are you going to find more business, because no matter if you're newer in the business or you're doing 50 million a year or 100 million a year, it always comes down to how can I drive more opportunity to grow my business. There's a variety of ways people struggle where they're at in their career. The first actually isn't about how to properly manage lead flow or where to buy it. The first thing is where not to spend money and making the mistakes, because there's so many companies and so many places that you can spend money that just go to a pitfall of wasted capital. And so what I find is that everyone asks the question like, where should I buy leads, or how, should I buy Facebook leads? Should I buy Google ads? Should I buy, from this lead provider? And the answer is, I don't have the answer, but we need to find people that have worked with those companies before, and we have worked with those companies before. So when they ask specific questions, would this work, would that work? We always go back to mindset of, well, if something's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true. Hey, we're gonna make you the exclusive agent in this zip code, and you're gonna get 300 opportunities and it's $500 a month. Well, logically you would say, and they're gonna give you this closing ratio guarantee. And the logic mindset should be, well, if you're guaranteeing me that I can close 5 to 10 transactions on this $500 ad spend, then you're lying. Because if that was the case, you could charge me more money. And so we have to have logical thought when it comes to lead spend. But what happens is people get really antsy and wanting to try new things without thinking about outcome and is this too good to be true? And so one of the things that I always like to teach is, well, let's discuss the lead source. Let's discuss the why behind what you're trying to do and figure out, does it really make sense? And then the second side to that is, and this is more of a structure thing. First side is, do you think the investment will be worth it? Can you return on it? Do you have measurables behind it to see, did you get a return on it? Now we can drive referrals and leads from a lot of different sources, but the key component is two sides on an individual agent or a team. And so as an individual agent, if you're gonna go out and purchase leads, if you're gonna go out and spend money for marketing to try to drive leads and opportunity, the key component that you have to ask yourself is, are you ready to work those leads? Because ultimately what ends up happening is, and where people get buried, is all of a sudden now they have, say, 100 to 200 leads that they paid for that are coming in, right? But guess what? They gotta call all those leads. They gotta follow up with all those leads. They then have to go tour a few groups of those leads and maybe write a contract or two on those leads, but yet leads are still coming in to be called, and the key is always speed to lead. So if you're in the field, how can you have speed to lead? And the answer is you can't. And so the best investment that somebody can make if they're gonna go down the path of lead generation is having a human being that can call those leads constantly. Follow up, initial call. And then when there's somebody that's on the line that seems as though they might be viable, connecting them with you. So the only people that you're spending time with are people that actually are viable enough to purchase a home or to sell a home. Otherwise, this game, it used to be 10 years ago we were figuring things out. Like, what is the closing ratio of that lead source? What's the closing ratio of Zillow? What's the closing ratio of Realtor.com? What are these ratios? And now we know, there's no guesswork. And so the average internet lead is gonna close at around 1%, which means that if you have to call 100 people and you get in contact with, say, 15 to 20 of them, now you're having discussions, now you have follow-up. But the number is 1%, we know. Well, are you really gonna call hundreds of people, follow up, do all these things for one deal? Because that time that you spend doing that and the value of your time doing that, you could easily have hired somebody that you pay a low salary or low hourly to, have them participate when you close a deal, that they'll get a bonus from you as part of working for you. So now the culture play of having somebody work for you, you're in it together, and somebody that just scrubs and scrubs and scrubs. Because the way that this translates to the team side of things is team leaders always think like, hey, I have a Boomtown account, I have a conversion account, I'm driving top of funnel leads, and they think like they're bringing value to their teammates, and they're not. They're actually hurting their teammates. Because now the teammates have to pay a split on the leads that you wouldn't call in the first place. So not only are they leads that you wouldn't call because the quality wasn't there, you're gonna just simply overhaul them to your team members and say, I'm giving you opportunity to work here because I'm giving you leads. And guess what? Those agents aren't even getting 100% commission because they're splitting it with you because you have a cost basis on those leads. So what ends up happening? They get attrition, they get burnt out, They get burnt out from having to call leads that are garbage. And so when we talk about lead gen, we need to talk about proper structure first. If you want to buy top of funnel leads, buy top of funnel leads. I have no issue with that. But you got to make sure the foundation for the follow-up and the prospecting is done with an internal person or team to scrub it out, because what people don't understand is the way to build a great team is to have quality lead flow. It has nothing to do with anything else. Because even if I gave you 40 top of funnel leads a month, you're going to close 1%, which means you're not even going to close a deal a month. But if I gave you 8 really good quality leads that maybe you close 2 a month, which would you rather have? 8, because now you don't have to call 40 people. You don't have to tour people that can't buy. You're working with quality. And that's where people make the mistake. They think that I can just throw out garbage. Well, the old additive is true. Garbage in, garbage out. And so it's not about anything to do with just making sure that, A, if you're an individual and you want to get in the lead game, you have to have somebody working those leads for you. And if you're a team leader, you got to do the same thing as well, because quality is everything, because time is so precious that we need to be spending time in the field showing property, closing deals, negotiating contracts. Somebody else's job is to call through the weeds. That's the goal, is proper structure when it comes to lead gen.